If you want to become a better English speaker, you have to speak English. Listening is not enough. You need to actively use the language. I say that as somebody who lives in Denmark, and I know many people who has been here for decades, learned the language in the first year, we know the basics, and still can barely speak clearly. The reason? We can always fall back on English because everybody speaks English. If you are committed to improving your English, you need to find possibilities for you to speak the language. The purpose of this short lecture is to help you find techniques and opportunities to use the language and to speak, and this will make you into a better speaker. My name is Shai Dotan. I'm Associate Professor of International Public Law at the University of Copenhagen, and this series of lectures is dedicated to help you to improve your English. You decided that you want to speak English to get better at speaking. That's a great decision. What should you do next? One possibility, try to travel abroad to an English-speaking country where you will be surrounded only by English. People will talk English to you, or the traffic signs will be English, or the newspapers will be in English. That's a great way to learn, and you can get so much out of it. I always tell my students they should go on exchange to the great schools in the United States or the United Kingdom, particularly the United States in the field of law, and many of them do that, and I think that they all find it as a very enriching experience. So that's something very worthwhile. If you cannot go to an English-speaking country, go to a non-English-speaking country. You will still be a foreigner. People will speak English to you. And you may tell me, why should I speak English with somebody that doesn't speak English as well as I do? They are even worse than me. I go to France, I talk to people English. I meet people in my country who are foreigners. Why should I speak to them? And my answer is, it doesn't matter how well they speak to you. The purpose is that you will speak with them. And as you speak, you try to speak as well as you can. So use clear phrases, think about the way you express yourself, use a large vocabulary if you want to, if it's justified, if the words can really mean the precise argument that you want to make. This will help you a lot. Because I'm multilingual and I come from a multilingual family, I speak with my children English, and I try all the time to speak at the best, highest level that I can. And I tell to myself, sometimes I would even use a vocabulary that seems maybe even inappropriate for the circumstances, but they learn new words as they do that. I want you to do the same when you speak to others. You see a tourist, you see a visiting scholar, a visiting student at your faculty, talk to them, engage with them. They would love to talk, they want to do that. They also are keen usually to practice their English and to exchange ideas. That's your opportunity to practice. And always remember, it's not how well they speak, it's how well you speak. And you should speak as well as you can. Sometimes I understand that there are social situations in which it would not be the best opportunity to make friends. You have to decide what you want. If what you want is to express yourself in the best way possible to earn the tool of being a great speaker, then the rule is you speak as much as you can and you speak as well as you can. If your intentions are to make friends or any other social intention, that's something else. I don't know anything about this subject. I really don't know how to do it well. But focus now on speaking. Many of my students ask me about accent, how they can get a better accent. And my answer is usually, don't worry about it unless you have a very particular reason to improve your accent. You are an actor, okay? You have to study. This I understand. But for most people, don't worry about it too much. Your accent will change naturally and gradually according to the way you speak. So if you try continuously to speak in the American accent or British accent, which is much easier to do when you're surrounded by Americans or by British, then your accent will slowly change towards this direction. It will not happen in a day, not in a month. It will take sometimes years, and usually there's always be a residue of accent from your original country and maybe other countries that you came from and other languages that you know. That's perfectly fine. for me, when I speak about speaking English well, I don't focus on accent so much. I focus on trying to make yourself clear, precise, choosing the words properly, and making a good impression on the audience. Now, there is a lot to say about other techniques that you can use for presentation. This we'll discuss separately. But now we discuss only the question of speaking, just like I would speak in a dialogue or without a larger presentation that requires a discussion of many different techniques, including body language and clothing and so on. Now imagine that you don't feel comfortable talking to other people, you don't find opportunities to speak English with people. I find it very hard to believe that it would be impossible. If you live in a large city, there's always going to be people there that also know English, even if it's the second language. So you have plenty of opportunities to practice. Let's say you don't do that. How can you still improve your English? One possibility is you try to record yourself and listen to yourself. Now, one trick that I recommend to you is when you record yourself, use the video. Why? When you record yourself, you would hear a different voice than the voice that you're used to hear when you're speaking. Because when you're speaking, you hear your own voice through the channels of your ears and nose, and it sounds differently when it comes from the outside. And this is something that can be a bit of a repelling experience for a lot of people, including myself. I didn't like to record myself for a long time. When I started to record myself in video, which is now very easy to do, I got over it because I could see myself speak, and immediately I would associate my own face with the text. It didn't seem so foreign and strange and uncomfortable to listen to. So try to record yourself in video, and that's a good technique for you to become better. Now, I recommend that you record yourself making a certain argument that you can plan in advance, but you improvise as you speak. Don't memorize or read from the page. I don't see the benefit of these other techniques. So think about the topic that you want to speak about and record yourself, just like I'm doing now. I'm recording myself on YouTube. You can also do the same. It's very easy, very easy to do. Even if you decide not to publish it, that's perfectly fine. That's a good practice for yourself. Another practice that I recommend to do is to write a text and then read your own text out loud. Now, I recommend to do it for two reasons. One, the main reason is to help your writing significantly. Because when you write beautifully in English, you are mostly composing. You're writing in a way that sounds nice, because most of the people who read you are in a way repeating the sounds of a word in their head, even if it's deep down in their subconscious. They're not actively doing that. The lips are not moving, but somehow in their brain they're listening to the words. So by writing well, you are composing the words, you're using the best sound of the words and word combinations that you can as you write. If you're going to read what you write and listen to yourself, you will become a better writer, especially if you edit the text later on so that it sounds better. But at the same time, it also will make you a better speaker. What I'm getting at is actually very simple. Writing is thinking, speaking is thinking. Thinking uses words and words combination and sentences. So if you're able to speak coherently and well, you will be able to write beautifully and well, and then you'll be able to solve problems as you write and think well. Everything is connected. To conclude, if you want to become a better writer and thinker, you need to become a better speaker in English. If you want to become a better speaker in English, you need to speak. The best way to speak is to speak with others, whether the English is better than you or worse than you. And always remember, the best thing about speaking English is you don't have to be afraid of a moment that I call the switch. The switch is a moment where I, for example, would pick up my children in a kindergarten in Denmark. I would say something in Danish, and immediately, if my accent is not perfect, the conversation would switch to English. So it always happens that conversations switch to English very, very quickly. I see it in every place I go. And the problem is that subconsciously, you're constantly afraid of a switch. You're constantly afraid that the language will eventually switch towards English, and you will not be using the local language. But in English, this will not happen, because if you meet somebody and you are German and they are French, and you decide to speak in English, even if you know a little bit of French or they know a little bit of German, you would stay with English. You would find a way to get there. You will make compromises in the language. It will not be ideal, but it will keep you going. And that's a benefit of English. And this means that if you want your English to be better, you have to travel or to be around people that travel, and this will happen almost automatically because you will be speaking, and you will be speaking in English. Just remember, if you want to become a better speaker, try to speak as well as you can. It may not win you a lot of friends, but it will make you into a better speaker in English.